As the strike continues, a new player enters the fray. We're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch Podcast.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 196 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher. With me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
Today, I did want to bring up some Loki news because we did get a trailer finally for Loki Season 2. Mm-hmm. I know you've seen it, so What did you think?
I'm really excited. The costumes alone are exciting to see, and we're going to get to look at all these different times and different variations on those times. So we see the Old West, but it has an amusement park in it. So getting those variants in that sense. And then, was that Short Round?
Yes, it was.
That's brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, he's going to be in this next season. I'd heard his name associated with Loki Season 2. I wasn't sure how much of a role he was going to have. He features prominently in the trailer, so hopefully we get to see a lot of him.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And, of course, that wonderful McDonald's commercial that came up on the social media originally known as Twitter.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there...
It looks like there's something dirty on my phone. I don't like it. It's just a black box with an X on it. I don't like that.
What?
It feels icky.
Yeah, doesn't it? At least you only get one X, so... But there was a McDonald's commercial. They said no spoilers, but they showed some clips from some movies where references to McDonald's in a bunch of different movies, and something is going to be revealed on Monday. Now, that on its own is not that big of a deal, except for one small, tiny little detail. We'd all pretty much seen a lot of those clips from movies like Coming to America. Their McDonald's were McDougal's. Mm-hmm. But there was one scene that none of us had seen before, which was Sylvie in a McDonald's outfit.
Huh.
So there will be a McDonald's reference in Sylvie working in a McDonald's. Now, and this was one of the old school I think it was like a 70s McDonald's outfit.
Oh, so it would have been brown with like a visor and...
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And so the rumor is there is going to be some cross-promotion between McDonald's and Loki Season 2.
Like Mac and Me.
Possibly, but also talk of a Loki sauce.
Huh.
Taking a page from Rick and Morty,
right?
A McNugget sauce that's tied into the show.
Let's see. I hope it's green. I don't know what flavor green could be, but pesto. I don't know.
But I guess we'll find out what this cross-promotion is on Monday, and we'll see if this is...
Yeah,
tied into
Iron Man had Burger King.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess Loki gets old Mac.
So I have been following the strike, as I always do, and the strike is still going on, and apparently a stunt that Universal tried to play didn't quite go according to plan. They literally tore up the sidewalk and cut all the trees out of the...
Oh...
Yeah, so you won't have a place to walk and you won't have shade. And the optics for that did not turn out well for them. So now they've laid down sidewalks so they have some place to walk, and they had to put tents up because they cut the trees down. But yeah, it was pretty blatant little stunt to pull.
Well, I mean, don't you have to get city permits? How did LA let that happen?
I guess that's the question of eminent domain and whether or not Universal had the ability to tear stuff up, because they're quote-unquote repairing it, but then, of course, cutting all the trees down. It was pretty much a blatant attempt to make things miserable for the strikers, but it wound up backfiring on them.
Yeah.
But all the little bibs and bobs that we're getting in the news, where you have people on the one side making comments of, we just need to hold out until they start losing their homes and their apartments. But what I really found interesting today, news-wise, we've been talking about a lot of the problems that VFX teams have been having with all these movies. The long hours and all the extra work, and there's really no security at all, and they get paid really poorly, and they don't get paid for overtime, and just how they basically get treated. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with they're one of the few groups that are not part of a union. Because, of course, VFX is relatively new and they're not unionized, and so they can pretty much get treated this way. And, of course, the question is, why don't they form a union? And apparently a few of them figured that out and was like, yeah, we probably should do a union. And so they've joined up with IATSE, which is the International Association for Theatrical Stage Employees. And they're taking a vote to basically create a union in IATSE.
Okay, yeah.
And it looks like that's about to go through.
Way to go. Good.
Yeah, now, the thing about unions is just because they form a union, that doesn't have anything to do with any other VFX teams. But this looks like this could become a chain reaction. Mm-hmm. And, again, they're having the same issues with VFX, obviously, that everybody else who's striking has, which is like AI. Especially in VFX, it's been used as a tool for a lot of different things already. In the animated Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, there was AI used, and of course we talked about in Secret Invasion, the opening sequence was all done using AI.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
But again, that's just a really good example and really an object lesson for what happens to people in Hollywood when they don't have any kind of a union backing them up. How do they get treated? They get treated like that.
Yes.
And so, again, that is a real reason why it is so important that people are striking and looking to improve their situation. That wasn't great to start off with, and of course we're living in a changing world, and it's very crucial and very important that this goes on. But of course, as it does, we go closer and closer to the abyss. And we have enough really to carry us over into next year, but then what happens? And again, we've discussed this before about movies and content and supporting it. You know, this idea that SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild has not told anybody, stop streaming, don't go to movies. But looking at that situation, of course, it's giving a lot of these studios money to hold out in a real sense. And I understand both sides of it. At the one hand, you don't really want to penalize the actors in these movies and hurt their residuals, but at the same time, you are giving the studios money to hang in there. I thought it was funny that Warner Brothers, their stocks actually went up a little bit because there was several $1 million they didn't lose for making movies. Is not a good thing when you think about it. It's, you guys make more money not making movies.
Yeah.
But, of course, Warner Brothers, they've had some problems in the past with a lot of their movies. And I just thought that was funny and ironic, this whole idea of we stopped making movies, we're doing
and now
better.
we're doing better. Yeah.
And we're actually doing better. But Hollywood is suffering a lot because this has been a brutal summer for a lot of people, unless you're Oppenheimer or Barbie. And good Lord. I don't know if you've been following the news on Barbie, but they just crossed $1 billion.
I've heard a couple of things, and yeah.
Yeah, first time a female director has directed a film that's crossed that $1 billion mark, so congratulations there. Still doing well, still hanging in there, and Oppenheimer's doing pretty good too. Mm-hmm. That's about it right now. And we are getting to a point where it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially toward the beginning of next year. Because a lot of movies,
a lot of the projects are just being pushed back, and
we're
going to have a definite lull period where nothing happens for a while.
Not that I'm happy about any of this stuff, but I couldn't help but laugh a little bit when I was reading the list of movies that have been suspended. The one that being the punster that I am. The one that got me was the Jennifer Lopez film Unstoppable has stopped production. So Unstoppable has been stopped for now. But yeah, it's, again, I understand all of this and I support the strike. And I'm hoping writers and actors are going to be able to come back to the table and they're going to be able to negotiate something that's going to be more reasonable. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, it doesn't look good that we're going to see anything. Even if they were able to go to the table tomorrow and negotiate and get a deal and be back to work on Monday, we're still going to have this big mass of no content. Mm-hmm. And so there's really no way getting around that. It's right now we're just basically trying to figure out how long this is going to be. Mm-hmm. But there's still little things that are popping up here and there. I've seen trailers for the Daryl Dixon Walking Dead series that's coming out. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that, because it's, in a sense, I think part of what they're playing with is there's this feeling of like The Last of Us, where
Yes, absolutely.
and
Exactly.
Lone Wolf and Cub
They pulled a chapter out of their book. They didn't pull a page.
They pulled
They pulled an entire chapter.
And this idea that here's somebody who possibly has a cure for the zombie plague. So I saw that, and of course, Doctor Who. Yes. I haven't heard anything new yet. We're still looking at November. I'm wondering if we're going to get 3 episodes in November, if we're going to get like a short season of something. There's still content to be had out there, but the sands are running out for a lot of this stuff. And you hear a bunch of rumors. One of the rumors is that Gal Gadot's talking about a new Wonder Woman movie.
Okay.
With Warner Brothers. She's talking about it. When I heard that news, I was like, man, I feel bad for Henry Cavill.
You're right.
Because
everyone else is coming back.
Yeah, exactly. You were saying about Henry Cavill, the whole idea was, well, we just want a clean slate. And if you're bringing people back, it doesn't look like that's
all back. Yeah.
That's it. So if you bring them all back except for Henry Cavill, then it's not a matter of you want a clean slate. It just, again, it just looks pretty bad. And I understand wanting to keep a job, but at the same time, it's Warner Brothers. I don't know how long they can keep their winning money-making formula of not making movies. Eventually, they're going to have to try to make a movie again. And just trying to follow the news of what's getting delayed and what isn't, it's really tricky right now. It's like Warner Brothers, I hear they're delaying Dune, and then I hear, no, they're not delaying it. Especially with Warner Brothers, it's very difficult to figure out what they're delaying and what they're not. They're playing their cards pretty close to their chest at this point. They're walking a strange little tightrope, because for a long time they've been having issues with their films. And of course, they were the ones who came up with this brilliant idea, let's chuck everything out onto streaming during COVID. And that didn't work out for them very well for a bunch of reasons. Besides getting sued and losing one of the biggest producers that they had through Legendary. The strike's not really helping them out. And when you're a stockholder and you're like, how are they making more money making less movies?
Because they're not losing money putting them out. Yeah.
Exactly. This is like a really weird time in Hollywood right now. And that's the question, is where do you go from here?
Right.
With the producers, if they have this of their mind that they're going to be able to wait the storm out and that they are holding all the cards, then they're just going to sit until they're really forced to do something. A lot of these old boomers are sitting here just like thinking, in a few months, we'll be able to have AI scripts acted out by AI actors, and we won't need any of them. We can keep all the money. But it's not going to particularly...
No one's going to...
Yeah, exactly. And this is something that a lot of people will tell you when you're learning about negotiations. The person or persons, organizations that win in any kind of negotiation are the ones who are able to walk away from the table and mean it. Where they can say, hey, if you're not going to negotiate, we're just going to leave.
Right.
And any organization that can do that, they're going to win. But obviously actors and writers can't be actors and writers if there's nothing being produced and there's nothing being filmed. So unless you get a job doing something else.
Move over and join the BBC. They'll have to do Bollywood. They'll have to do Broadway. They'll have to do stage.
Yeah. And that's going to be the question, is can that become the new normal for everybody? And again, the producers, they're counting on, if they can hold out long enough, they can start getting actors and writers at bargain basement prices. And if they are able to do that, yes, their bottom lines are going to be a heck of a lot better. But who can stay away from the table long enough? Is it going to be the producers that are going to basically be able to starve out the actors and the writers? Or are the actors and the writers going to be able to withhold their services so long that they're going to have to come back to the table because AI isn't this panacea that they think that it is? As of right now, no one's in enough danger that they're going to be willing to capitulate and come back to the table. They're not in that position yet. And this may take a while before they get there.
Yep, it's got to reach all the way to the top.
Yeah. Because the last thing that Hollywood needs, whether you're a writer, an actor or a producer or movie studio, the last thing that you want to have happen is for people to go, oh, we didn't really need you, did we? And, we're starting to get to that point. But I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 196. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.